For what he speaks next, says he, might I call you by your given name? Now mind you, there ain't no one of his quality ever called me Annis. 'Tis always Todfield is. Fetch that, Todfield. And what next springs from his lips? As I says, by your leave, sir, whatever please you. And he says to me, Annis. I said, Annis, I want you to look upon this. It ain't proper. And then it's the command, Annis, look at me. I said, and I look square toward his eyes, and he ain't smiling, but he ain't frowning. I thought, well, that's good. And then he speaks to me, Annis, I said, is it proper and fitting for a father to want the best for his son? I said, it is. I don't know, I don't have children. What do you think? I said. And then speaks he. Annis, you've heard stories of them that wants to go to Virginia. I said. 'Tis here that it all starts to come clear to me. To Virginia. Mind you, there's always things that in the back of your head you think, but you don't ever let them near your mouth. And I know plenty about Virginia. Master Raleigh sent people there 20 years past, and no one's heard of them again. But I don't dare let it out. I said, I know Virginia, sir. And then says he, my son, he wants to go to Virginia. I don't want him to go alone. And he stops. And he's made the play then. Now if I deny this man, twice Lord Mayor of London, goldsmith to His Majesty, keeper of the mint, if I deny him anything, what is my future? I've got none. And then it comes to me, the only way out of this is death. I look at all them glazed windows, and I think that I've always heard stories, if you tell a bold enough lie, God will strike the dead. I got naught to lose. Perhaps not the best thought upon that day. It's a clear sky, not a cloud, but it was all I had. If I tell a bold enough lie, God would send a lightning bolt and strike me dead. And I look square to his eyes, sir, I have wanted to go to Virginia for years. And I just wait. Nothing happened. And then I seized upon the rest of what I'd heard about that. God will not reward you for lying. So I've been undone by my own stupidity. And as soon as I says that, what I told him, he says, well enough. I will make a meeting for you and my son. You'll be called back here, and I thank you. You may go now, Todfield. And 'twas it. He calls to his retainer who comes to fetch me. Got to the door. The retainer stops. You know where you live, go to it. Didn't even walk me back down the hill. Wind my way back. My thoughts of what this is all about. I was working. I had no desire to go to Virginia. Thrice I was brought back up to that house to meet my new master, Captain John Martin, twice Lord Mayor of London, goldsmith to His Majesty, the Father. Let me ask you, when they introduced you to the thought of coming here, by the countenance you bear, you had nothing to leave you there. An opportunity here, I suspected. Did they unroll the great maps for you as they did me? Truth upon it, they unrolled the great map and they pointed out, oh, that be Portugal, that be Spain, is that the Mediterranean Sea? And what they said next, straight across from the Mediterranean to the Chesapeake Bay. In the Mediterranean, the summers is cool, the winters is warm. And must it not be so, straight across the ocean? And mistress, are you not most desirous filled my head with such thoughts twirling about of how my improved life would be. They talk of saving the savages from themselves, saving themselves. It was after the third of the three meetings. It was November 16 and 6. It was to depart less than a month of that. But I remember all the rest of the gentlemen had come and gone with their manservants who had nothing to bind them according to their betters. All was left but me and my Captain John Martin. And I asked him, to be honest on it, "Sir, why is it that he's called savage?" And with the greatest indignancy, he spoke it to me. Rudest as if I were a beast. Ruder than one would treat a beast, I think. He says, "Well, what is it that the French calls them?" As if we any of us give a fig what the French call nothing. But he spoke it to me. In the French tongue, 'tis what they call them, sauvage. And then he asked me again, "What doth it mean, sauvage?" And I knew not. And then he explained it away. In the French tongue, 'tis sauvage. If you got but one God, 'tis said he is a Christian, or mayhaps a Mohammed or Hebrew. If you got one God. But if you got two gods, you can all be Christian. You can all be Hebrew. You can all be Mohammed. 'Tis what the naturals call them. The French, sauvage. Wild men, men of the wood. Men that worship trees and stones and beasts and the fishes and the bread, some great, some lesser. All that God hath put upon this earth they worship, just as we ancient Britons worshipped all about until we did come to embrace the love of Christ God Almighty. He told me that is what the savages are, but we will end that and save them. And he told me not to speak to him anymore about it. And I put it away until I come here. We left it the 19th of December. The breeze strong in the channel, couldn't break free for 6 weeks. We used a great deal of food and water. Had to stop at the Canary. More water, some food. And again in the Azores. Again in the Indies. Man died there, a corpulent death. So hot, extreme hot. We were below the Mediterranean, they said, which was why it was so hot, close to the equator. As we come up against the coast, mariners begin to see debris pointed out. We're near land now, on the 6th and 20th of April, just off the coast, betwixt Cape Charles and Cape Henry. They call it at that, Captain Smith, for the King's Son. And we did come in the night of the 26th. They opened the box that had the instruction who was to be in charge in Virginia. And it was if an animal, a number of them had been wounded, the howls, when they discovered the government was to be 6 gentlemen and Captain John Smith, son of a yeoman farmer who, by the by, at that juncture was below decks in chains, having been accused of mutiny against his betters. In the Indies, they wanted to hang him. Reverend Hunt intervened, saved his life. They planned on hanging him when we found shore. Reverend Hunt again and Captain Gosnell intervened. We went up the King's River and explored above our isle and then back down. On the 13th of May, we went ashore. We was instructed to take pine boughs cut from low branches and build a fortification out of branches as if it would stop even rabbits. Stupid. while he was in that industry, the gentlemen, the better part of them, went upriver all the way to the falls to see if they could make shift through, and at some point, upon a prominence, look to the west and see the glistening of the China Sea. 'Tis what their hope. But through time with the naturals, it will reveal it as a great expanse of land betwixt the falls and anything else. 2 days before they returned, we was assaulted by the Paspahe just upriver from our fort. Killed a young boy. Never seen a man die like that. Sadly, the first of many. 2 days later, gentlemen came back and they determined that perhaps the great intrigue of a Boer fort held no weight. Instructed us in 2 weeks to build a palisado, and we did. Captain Newport departed 3rd week of June, told us he would be back in 4 months. It was 7. We had arrived too late to plant corn, wheat, barley. The intent was to truck with the naturals, but they continued to assault us every few days. When we arrived in May, it was like paradise here. Cool breezes, and it burned your nose. So sweet, everything in bloom. It was like nothing you'd ever seen. But it all left just after Captain Newport departed. It got very still, and the cool breeze from the northwest was replaced with the dry heat, if ever a breeze, from the southwest. And we began to die. We were destroyed with cruel diseases, swellings, fluxes, burning fevers, and by wars with the naturals we was instructed at all costs to maintain peace with. There were never Englishmen left it in a foreign country in such misery as were we in this newly discovered Virginia. We watched it every 3 nights, lying on the bare, cold ground, what weather soever come, and then watered all the next day, which made our men most feeble. Our food, a small can of barley soured in water to 5 men a day. Our drink cold water taken from the river that it flood were very sore, but at low tide filled with slime and filth, which brought the destruction to many of our men. Thus we lived in that misery some 3 months, not having 5 able men to man the bulwarks upon any occasion. Our men night and day are groaning in every corner of the fort. Most pitiful to hear. If ever a company of men can say they felt God's hand reached to them, it was the 3rd week of September when that heat had relinquished, and from the northwest a breeze again and a coolness that settled our souls. Captain Newport had departed, leaving 104 of us. That first summer we buried 51. As we recovered from the dysentery, things seemed to change a bit. Captain Smith was made Cape merchant. The instruction to take brass bells, glass beads, bits of copper, trash, and go to truck with the Indians. It was done most. The gentlemen that had survived the first summer that hoped Captain Smith wouldn't come back, that the interior would consume him. And my loving master that thought so much of me, he says to me, says he, "Tokyo, accompany Smith down river and fetch me back food." I said, "And for your generosity." In the shallop, we left Jamestown, made our way to Kikutan, where the King's River feeds the Chesapeake. We went ashore and the natural surrounded us. We thought it odd as we waded ashore, for the shallop, as deep-breasted as it is against sand, could no further go than where we waded in at waist, keeping our muskets in match and our bandoliers above us for the bow to be dry. But as we waded ashore, as I come amongst ye, all about then, we were surrounded, mayhaps 40 men, bowmen, painted, some red, some black, some yellow, all of them, bows, arrows knocked in them. And they begin to point toward us as we put Captain Smith to the center and we with our muskets, matches, cocked, surrounded him. And they begin to point to each of us, to one, Ka, Katoro Inshowo. And they would point to his shoes, another, Ka, Katoro Inshowo, toward his sword, another, toward his helm, another, his cuirass, another, his food bag. And after 5, 6, 7 times this, Ka, Katoro Inshowo, Captain Smith, he came out of the circle. Beyond it he went. And he looked toward one, perhaps the biggest there, the boldest, square toward his eye, not to part his eye. Ka, Katoro Inshowo, and did point toward his shoes. And he spoke it back, moccasin. And it meant not to us. Captain Smith again, Ka, Katoro Inshowo, and did point toward another, the arrow, knock it in his bow. And the savage, he spoke back, Atom. And to 3 or 4 at once, Ka, Katoro Inshowo, toward the one, and they spoke. Here's one, Sakahana. And Captain Smith, he spoke it there. We have not to fear. They are proper people. They are desirous to truck with us. But as proper people are, they want to call what they want. They ask us, what call you this? For they covet it. Captain Smith then to the lead took, his ear keen to the tongue of others. And within half an hour's time, he had writ out in a waste book words and how to speak them for little baskets, manitoyans, and then you point to pompions, is what they call their gourds that are orange in color, pompions. We learned to count that day. Nikla, Ning, Nus, Yao, parents, Gomotin, Stapawas, Naswas, Kekatoa, Kask, Kask, Manitoyan tanks. 10 little baskets, and you point to what you desire, and they would speak the word back of what it meant. In 2 hours' time, for a few pounds of blue beef, we had fraughted the shallop with near 200 bushels of corn, and learned their language sufficient to make our way. Ye would have thought when we arrived late that night, back up the river, that we would be greeted as great heroes. But the gentlemen, they said, is this all you've gotten? 200 bushels to starving men. Captain Smith, 3 times that fall, I accompanied each time up the river, all the way up the Chickahominy the 3rd time, as far as could he go, into a desert, and there he was taken up by the naturals. The great Mamanatoe is what they call their emperor, Mamanatoe, Powhatan. He was taken up, and in 3 weeks, he maneuvered about, they told him, in search of the Mamanatoe. And near Christmas time, they found him on the next river north, the Pamunkey. at his chief residence there, where Wacomico. He were made a lesser chief, Captain Smith told us. And when he were restored back the 2nd of January last year, he had been made a lesser chief. He'd been given a village, and they started to bring food. We was at peace with the great emperor of the country. Last summer, we left out of Jamestown, Captain Smith, myself with him twice, to explore the Chesapeake. We went down the Kings River, beyond Kickotan, and up the Chesapeake each time. 7 weeks we was gone. The 2nd of June, the 21st of July, when we returned. 3 days, all it were. And July 24th, we left out again. And this time, all the way to the Susquehannock. Captain Smith, through an interpreter, learned from the Susquehannocks, a giant-like people, that there is no inland sea. There's no means to find your way across this country to the Sea of Cathay. It exists not. 'Tis toward the north, great bodies of water, but they are fed from the east, not the west. So your masters that had brought you here, thinking they will find a passage to Cathay, it exists not. But of course your masters will not believe Captain Smith. I've been with Captain Smith now 20 times exploring into villages. I've seen them at their greatest moment of joy when children are born, and the greatest peril of their lives when they watch a loved one die. It is by my hand that some have died, who met us not for peace but war. I wanted to think that we would save them from themselves, and I've held that in my head, what Captain John Martin told me. The burden is that what makes them as they is not what they've got, a great many gods. Just what they've got not, and it has not to do with their gods. Just one single thing that makes them as they is, and it is what they've got not. For they've got not iron, and that is what makes them as they is. 'Tis said they dwell in an age of stone, and we an age of iron. But here's the rub. Furrows my brow. I watched them, a hunter, great prowess. He will hunt in the heat of the summer with but a bit of cloth toward his privets, and naked the rest of him with grease, suet of bears with some root that has been dried it and ground fine that would keep the fleas from biting, and instead of nakedness. But in his state of nakedness, with that bit of cloth about his privets, he would have in one hand his bow, an arrow knock it against the string to this hand, but this. He would wear deer skin, with the head still upon it, the skull, all the bone remove it, but the skin, but the head, stuff it with moss, and appear so artificially cunning that when he drapes it just so in the tall grasses where other deer in the distance graze, he would approach them, arrow knock it in that bow behind, but this, he would make it seem that the deer was live as he would make his way. And as they cast glance, the deer a grazing, he would make it seem that his deer were as well grazing. And slowly bring up. And as they pay no mind, creeps along. Finally, when he is near me, he draws out. He will dispatch the deer as best can he with one arrow. But they have strong spirit, mayhaps as long as half, 3/4 of a mile. They will bleed and drop. This country, it abounds in marshes. And mind you, I said, put a bit of cloth about his privets and a bow, arrow and quiver and that deer's skin. But from there, he will leave that deer and seek out a marsh where reeds are growing, for they abound here. And he will look his eye keen to one reed, and at the water's edge he breaks it and holds it, and the wrist one against the other he snaps. It is that long, a bit of reed, split as sharp as a surgeon's knife. He will dress that deer, the entrails drop, and the deer is not light enough that he can drag it back to his village. Mind you, they're not gluttonous. Oh, some they will eat then. Their knives of stone, hafted in the handles they will use. Sharp they are. But the majority of the flesh, as they remove the skin to preserve it, to cover their nakedness, the flesh into small slivers. They build little hurdles of green sprigs over the fires, and they allow it to drape over to dry slough. They will take the skin, as I speak, to cover themselves upon its preservation. The hooves and antlers they break up fine, and in their clay pots with a bit of water they set a boiling to make a glue they use to affix the points of their arrows to the shafts made out of reed. Reeds is hollow, and they find true straight ones, and they fly and glide sweet. They will take the muscle from the hind quarter of the leg. It starts on that. And in another clay pot, a bit of water they set at a boiling and draw it out and pull it. It started, they draw it out, 'tis that. They put it back, boil, draw it out, stretch, boil it. And when they are done, they pull slivers that did start just there. And 'tis now that bit of muscle, this long, that they will twist, and they use it as thread, just gets their clothes together. What furrows my brow, my new friend, to gaze upon them? They look as if they have not, mayhaps, the lost tribe of Israel, some speak, set lost in the wilderness, and we condemn them. You look upon them, they've got naught to offer. But they're never hungry. They never want. All that Providence has laid at their feet they embrace. Mind you, in late winter they are lean like the beasts, and they will fish, for there are no berries or the fruits from the trees or plants, but they never suffer. They never want. If they've got not stone, they will make their tools of wood, a bone, a shell. And this is what plays at my head. We gaze upon them, and we feel pity upon them. But mind you, you take iron away from an Englishman, in short order he will perish. You take away stone from a savage, and you will have tools of wood, a bone, a shell. They never suffer, they never want, and they never make complaint. What is it we always say? We always want. Just but one thing. More. And these that we play pity upon, what is it they want? Never anything. We call them savage. In due course, you will become acquainted with them.